friends. I'm Amy Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative. I'm delighted to introduce you today to Stefanie and Caleb Rouse. These digital creators empower singles and couples to have thriving relationships. Relationship mentors, authors, and podcasters, they were named Christian influencers to follow in 2021. The Rouses are SYMBIS trained and collectively have earned a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, theology, and education. Their website, stephanieandcaleb.com, is chock full of valuable resources, links to their books, podcasts, online courses, free downloadables, and punctuated with gorgeous photographs taken by this artistic couple themselves. Stefanie and Caleb, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. We are so happy to be here and get to talk with you and get to share a little bit about what we do.
Yes.
Oh, well, you have such a cute story about how you met. Tell us how you met and got started. You're some of our younger marriage leaders, so it's always fun to hear everyone's story.
Yeah, so right out of junior high. No, I'm just kidding. After college, I was definitely looking for a person, and God led me through a long journey with all of that. And one Sunday, unbeknownst to me, I walk into church and I look over to my left, and there is this angel worshiping God. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I always tell people, I feel like I saw her heavenly body, her heavenly self.
You saw her, the halo.
There was just something, I was like, yes. And I told my friend, I said, hey, we need to get to know that girl right over there. That's it. And I waited until the end of church. You can't just go while the pastor's talking. You can't just go spit your game.
Sound on a little.
Yeah, that would be bad. And I waited. There was this hangout that they did for young adults after church across the street. They had live music. They had a coffee shop that had the proceeds go to orphanages in Africa. It's a really great place. And I waited to that, and I got ready to shoot my shot. I walked over. I said hi. And she said hi to me, and I was like, oh, man. And then this guy walks over, sticks his arm around her, and basically tells me in his facial expression, this is my property. Get away. I own this. Stay away. And so I was like, wow, okay, well, you can't fight somebody in church. So I was abiding by a lot of church rules that day. So I just let it go, and God kind of took me on a journey through a year of just really getting rid of stuff in my life and getting me ready. And now I had kind of seen the type of girl I wanted to be with. I had always envisioned what that might look like, and now I had seen it. So I needed to be it for her. I needed to get ready. And so I spent that year doing that. And then eventually I went on this mission trip with the school I was working at. And I told all the kids always ask, who you dating, this and that. And I said, nobody. And I said, but there's this dream girl. And they said, well, you got to go after her if she's ever single. And I get back. That was Friday. I got back from the trip on Saturday, went to church on Sunday, and found out she was single. And so I got really nervous. And she actually invited me to this 4th of July event that our church was holding, picnic. And that was ended up being, I canceled all plans. Didn't matter. I don't care if I was giving my dissertation. I don't care if it was I don't know what would have happened. I was doing court. No, I was going to that picnic, and I did. And that was our first hangout. And then we started hanging out more and more. I asked her out, and now she's the wife of 12 years. So got it done. God is good.
I love hearing that story. No matter how many times my mouth always hurts after he tells it, because I'm smiling so big. It's so sweet.
Well, and you know what? Having that origin story is really, it's affirming. That's something when you tell that story. We have the story of how my husband and I met, and the story of our honeymoon getting locked out of our little. Because everyone knows that story, but again, it's affirming. It's telling your cultural relationship, and you do a lot of work with singles. How did you get started in the digital world? And it kind of started with the singles, right?
Yes. Yeah. So part of my story is I was not walking with God, and I was at Penn State and living this crazy life, and God rescued my life after my sophomore year of college. He just literally took me out of the slimy pit, rescued me, and just saved my life. And my life was such a 180. I always say he flipped my life upside right, and just started going after him, and he just started putting new dreams on my heart, new things. I always had such a heart for people. And then I got engaged soon after I became a Christian. And then that guy dumped me on Valentine's Day, 3 months before the wedding. The wedding was planned and paid for. And I realized, God did a lot in my heart of realizing how much worth I was having in a relationship with a man. And he was really getting me to have my identity in him alone. And also then that's when I got my master's degree from Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, California. So I was at Penn State, had never been further west than Ohio, and drove all the way out, not knowing a soul, all the way out in Pasadena, because God lined up the pieces for me to go there. I was thinking just to get my degree, but I got to meet him out there a couple after I finished my degree. Actually, I met Caleb, but he gave me such a heart for people that were walking through that time of my heartbreak. He took what was what I was most embarrassed about, my biggest pain. You like sharing Facebook and everyone's thinking of having this wedding. My bridesmaids have their dresses and then it all falls apart. And I was so ashamed of that. And I was in hiding. And then of course, God takes our most broken parts of our story and uses it for his glory. And that's really what he did. As I was getting my master's, I kept feeling this urge, like they were saying, like most people are in a traditional therapy setting, but I kept feeling like I see people hanging out online. I didn't know any of this that I am learning. I was saying to myself, so much heartbreak. What if I could get some of this information to people sooner? Like, and that's where they're hanging out online. So how do I share the gospel? How do I share about healthy, God honoring marriages online? I was like so naive. I had no idea about any of that. But then God took me on the journey of like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to start sharing the gospel online. I want you to share about what my view of marriage is versus the world's view of marriage, and have that encourage singles and engaged and married couples. And so we've gotten to work with, single, engaged and married couples and people in the dating process. But definitely a lot of people in their singleness that have walked through heartbreak, and then helping them to date differently, break out of toxic cycles so they can be in a lot better place to make wise decisions, to be set up for God's best. And it's been so fun to officiate clients' weddings, to walk them through, and seeing them enter into marriage after even, different trials they walk through in healthy marriages, having God honoring marriages. So it's very fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And so on the digital world, that's one of the things you're really known for is everything is super accessible and right there. You did a cultivate relationship classes. So let's talk about that. You have a master class and then you've got some things for men and women. So let's talk about that, because that's kind of your flagship, right? Of helping people walk through some of their pain process.
Yes, definitely. So we started that, I think, in 2017, and we've definitely made a lot of changes and learned a lot. But from my master's degree and so much that I learned and all these extra trainings, I wanted to put together someone doesn't have to go and get their master's degree to learn all of these things. And how do they actually implement this in the real world? How do they tangibly have their identity in Christ? How do they tangibly break cycles in relationships, even before they're maybe even dating or engaged? How do they start really walking out in purpose now? So that's what Cultivate Relationship is. A lot of our, a lot of the clients that we have walked through that, as well as group mentorship. So a lot of the clients we have are also good friends with each other, and it's from all over the world. We have clients from Australia, New Zealand, India, all over Europe, all over, just all over, and all over Canada. And they are really connected of, hey, what if Romans, your verse in Romans 12:2 of like, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. That's his favorite verse. And a lot of our course is, what if we did life and love, not according to the patterns of this world, but according to what God says. Still, obviously, we're in 2025. So how do we do that and navigate that and listen to God and not conforming in this world? So it's been so neat to see them walking through really tangible things that they can do, and then encouraging one another, all like-minded of like, okay, let's not conform to the pattern of this world. Let's be.
So tell me, if somebody is listening to this, one of our marriage champions, and they want to refer somebody or to kind of connect with you in that cultivate relationship? Because you have different courses, right? Men and women. How would they onboard?
Yes. So there's a place on our website that has a link for it. And we're having new enrollment actually starting
coming up very
soon. So this is a really good time. If people have they have a single in mind, they're like, oh my goodness, this would be so good for either women or for men, that they can sign up to you'll see anything for singles. So anything you sign up for, if you're single and you sign up for, it will say single women, you'll get our emails of telling you how to sign up for our different things.
And any post on Instagram. So if you go find us on Instagram, Stefanie.Rouse or Caleb Jason Rouse, if you comment the word waiting on any one of our posts, it'll get you plugged into our singles ecosystem.
And you have to do what it says. It gives you a little buttons of hey,
it'll get you plugged right in.
And we give you a free ebook and some free things, but then they're also giving you invites to when we have openings for enrollment for our different courses and things like that. And then same with if someone's married, we also, if you type in the word marriage, then it gets you connected to our marriage resources and courses.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up, because your website is absolutely gorgeous. Your photos are just beautiful. And you learned how to take all, I'm like, how did you get selfies that good? But they're not exactly selfies, but you took it yourselves. I mean, they everyone looks like a wedding photo. I mean,
we actually, a while back, actually did wedding photography. And so we learned how to do professional photos, but from the very beginning of our relationship, Stefanie always loved just kind of documenting our different memories. So we actually very early
before
on,
Instagram, before Facebook, just for my personal scrap.
Yes. Yeah. For her own, thing, just to remember things, we would always take a tripod and we'd always take a camera and we would just take pictures wherever we went. And that has become a staple of not only our lives, but our business and everything. So we take photos everywhere we go, and we do all of our photos ourselves.
Not everywhere, but a lot of places.
A lot of places, yes. Not every, Here I am at the grocery store.
Here I am at church. Here's our tripod. No. But when we go on an adventure, and it's so fun and natural, we've gotten so used to it that it just feels and it's really quick. We set it up when we traveled in Europe, we got to get all these cool shots, but it's just we set it up quick, just get to dance around, hug and kiss, and then keep walking. It's a very fun, organic versus feeling like someone's standing there and taking a picture you don't like, and then you're So that's been so fun for me, and that's such a creative outlet that I've always loved.
And we're so thankful for every memory. We get to look back and see all those memories, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and while they're admiring your photography, they can look and they'll see you have so many ebooks and downloadables. Do you want to touch on some of your favorites there? I mean, there's a list.
So, we love all of I think we've had our ebooks downloaded, tens of thousands of times, so people love those, waiting for the one. We have those are our singles. Our most popular ones are waiting for the one for men and waiting for the one for women. People love those ebooks and have been downloading those for years and years. Yes. And then our marriage, how to have a thriving marriage, is a very popular one that people love in marriages. And then there's little resources, for men. I created a cheat sheet for how to talk to a girl, and they can get a cheat sheet on just conversation starters and way to get past,
single men,
to get past some of those things. And Stefanie's done some where it's from healing, healing from heartbreak. And just feeling
better, not bitter. That one's cool. It's really just good. Little ebooks of it and just things we wrote of this is helpful to us. Let's put it out there. And little prayer guides too. So for married couples, we have a little prayer guide that people can download. A lot of them are free. Some are $5, $10. They can get, there is a marriage course that is a really powerful course that a lot of married couples have gone through. That is a paid one. But that is really cool to see.
Thriving marriage.
Thriving marriage.
Let's talk about that. That was something I wanted to ask you about, because for our marriage champions, that's another intersection point. They might be really interested to hear about that.
So we created Thriving Marriage as just a way to boost your marriage in, all the different main areas, your communication, conflict management, ways to talk better about, difficult topics, healing from the past. We do a lot of our same work in our Cultivate relationship, we apply some of those same models there. And so it helps them kind of break some of their cycles and just tool marriages so that they can get from surviving to thriving. And that's the idea, is we're not going like crazy deep, but we're getting them covered so that they can go back to that and have skills just to propel them forward, so that they don't, feel like they're stuck in any way. They can go back, and, all of our clients have lifetime access to that kind of stuff. So they can go with that. And then we usually offer some sort of, if they want to go deeper, they can then get coached by us if they want to do that. So in accompanying those kind of things. And so, there's going to be some options. And then we're kind of planning for some sort of marriage community in the future. And so there's some things on the horizon I think will be really cool.
Yeah, we want couples to have tools in their tool belt of like, okay, this is coming up. I want to be able to go, like, maybe this isn't, once they take the course, but then they're like, oh, wait, I can go back to this tool and I can have this to help me with the apology languages, or let me get better versed on what my spouse's love language is and how do I walk this out? Or, we are in this toxic cycle right now. What is it that I do? Like, what could I do to really love my spouse? Like Jesus calls me to love them in this moment. So I think it's neat that they have those things, and I'm excited for that he's working on the back end of having the marriage community that we're working on. So I think that will be neat in hopefully in January that we'll have that. We didn't get to even tell you about that yet, that he's been working on, Amy.
Working on more and more things. Every time we feel like God's giving us a download, we try to find some way to get something out to people, because we want to help them and give them the tools that we needed. And need
all the time still, that we pull our tools from our tool.
Because your boy's always on the struggle bus and trying to get it going. And so, awesome. We always are trying to find new ways and new things to bless people with.
Yeah. Well, tell me about Wholehearted Love.
Yeah.
Our book that this is our book, Wholehearted Love. And this book we wrote it got published almost a little over a year ago, and with Tyndale, and it's a lot about our stories. Like, we share our stories, and the tag is overcome the barriers that hold you back in relationships with God and others, and delight in feeling safe, seen, and loved. And there's some pretty, the whole book we wanted to be applicable. Like, we don't just want theories, we want people to be able to walk it out. So we have a lot of things in terms of how do we get God's truth, just not in our head, but how do we get that in our heart, and then walking that piece out of really we know the truth sets us free, but sometimes we have the truth and there's some blockage in our lives that holds us back from really being able to walk out that truth. And this book has really helped. What we're hearing from reviews from people, and what our goal is helping them with those barriers that hold them back, so that they can really know God's truth on a whole nother level, and then love the people that God's called them to love in a whole new way, because they're seeing each other more through God's eyes, not through their pain. There's a lot of times in marriage or in dating or whatever it is that we can then see each other through our pain lens versus like God's truth and what he says. And so it was a very vulnerable book to write, because we share about different struggles and different pain, but then also how to overcome it and live in a wholehearted way towards God as we know his truth, and walk that out in relationships. So
Well, one of the things that I want to go a little deeper with that book, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was how, like, the pain and trauma of, loving others in some way, whether it's, somebody who decides to cancel their engagement, or, all sorts of different things that can happen, you can create a barrier that not just divides you from opening your heart up to another person, the person that might be the right person. Like, you could have let that trauma keep you from being vulnerable and opening up to Caleb, and just going, oh no, weird guy in church, go away. But also it keeps you from feeling that relationship with God. Can you talk about that? Because I hadn't really heard a lot of other people that I've talked to talk about how a pain cycle, or just your own hurt, can be that barrier between you, not just you and others, but you and God.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. When people go through some level of pain, it hits them, the deepness of that pain can hit them at such a core level and cause them to want to block things off. I talk about sometimes like our heart as like a house with rooms, and we have this way of like opening these doors to God and saying, hey God, you can go into this room and you can go into this room, and God wants to come into every room of your heart. And sometimes when we go through a deep pain, it's like as if we have that room that's in the back that when people come over, we don't want them to go into that room because that room's really messy, or that room is really burnt up and it's just decrepit, all the wood's falling apart and all of that. But what we learn through healing those things and then allowing God into there, we learn that he is the good carpenter. He's the one that can come and rebuild that room. He can come in and restore that room, make it the most beautiful room in the house. And then there's an outpouring of that of like, hey, all of this is yours, Father. And now I get to walk forward with you. I don't have to hide anything from you. And we find that people like in their pain, they will blame God. And oftentimes when you can release that to God, you find that he's your comforter. You know, God is close, the Lord is close to the broken heart. He rescues those who are crushed in spirit. And that is so true in the midst of your, I felt that, she's felt that, and we felt that together as a couple, that when we allow God in and we live to him in a wholehearted way, that is an outpouring in every other area. And that's where it starts first, honestly, is with God, so that we can have positive relationships with other people. And that's a lot of the time the blockage is not how I'm interacting with somebody else, but it's, okay, God, like we need to work on this forgiveness that I need to have, like, not that we need to forgive God, but we need to allow God to heal those things.
Yeah, let him in. Because when you say that about the rooms and how much that we can block God from that, it is true, and we think we have to have ourselves more cleaned up for him to be invited in. It's like he wants to come into the mess, and he's the carpenter, not us. And it's less about what, us fixing ourselves. You don't want me to be the carpenter.
You do not want me to be the carpenter.
But it's a lot less about us fixing ourselves up and him, like just inviting him in. And in pain, it's the most tempting, at least for me, and I know a lot of my clients, to put up those barriers and to just even slap on a smiley face, but inside you're hurting and you're in pain and kind of going through the motions of life. And then there's like layers and like a mask that you have on versus taking the mask off before God, getting real with him, even in those messes. So that, like, in writing this book, I was going through a really hard time as I was writing it. And that's what I wanted to do as I was writing it. I'm like, I wanted to call my publisher and say, I don't want to do this book because this is so vulnerable. But then I was walking out when I felt the Holy Spirit telling us to write in this book. And it was really like transformative to me as I was putting the things into practice during a very difficult time in our lives, that God was having us put it into practice. So it was interesting how we really had to live it as we wrote it, and how much I wanted to just shut my heart down from God and others and just be a kind of like a shell and just like, and not really be fully alive and fully wholehearted to him. But God keeps breaking down those walls.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that you kind of explained that more, because it differentiates your book from the Wholehearted Love from the other books on the shelf. And I don't know if maybe that was you referenced a pain point. The Grieving with Faith is a book you have with Journey of Child Loss and helping others. And I'm sure our marriage champions, it's so common to know that you have a resource, Grieving with Faith.
Yes. Yeah. After we lost our twin boys to miscarriage, I got so many great resources, read so many good books, got so much information. I really wanted to put a little devotional together. And then I have those resources. So like the last page it's just a short devotional. I think it's 5 days. But then the last page has all those different resources that help me, like so many different authors and devotionals that are so powerful that helped me, grieve with faith and to proclaim that God is good no matter what we go through. And like the day after that happened, the day that happened, he said, what do? We worship. And that's what he said to me. And God's worthy of our worship in our best moments and our worst moments. Amen. And so it's just writing certain things. And I was writing it during the process. But I think that would be, just a quick little downloadable that's easy to send to someone if, or it's really good. Like I know some friends have read it that they themselves haven't walked through it, but it's helped them to understand
how to walk through with others,
just to give a different perspective. Because we didn't have a gauge for, like, unless you walk through it, you don't know how painful it is to have something living inside of your body that you've never been closer ever to someone. And even though you don't know your face, it's like, who else has lived inside of me for me, it was 3 months. Like whether it's, 6 weeks, 3 months, however long you were pregnant, no one's ever been that close to you. Like no one, so the loss is so painful. So it's I didn't know so much until I walked through it that I wanted to have that because I really had to search hard to find some resources, and I wanted to give that to others.
Well, I just think that, and thank you for sharing and trusting, being transparent with your story, because I know that's painful, but I really think that's helpful for our marriage champions, because that's something that can break up a marriage if people don't, have the support and process in a way that, that is positive and together. And I think a lot of people are at a loss, or even friends are at a loss with how to offer support. So anyway, thank you for sharing that with us. Now you have another book that's actually really a pair. You have your 52 prayers for a husband and 52 prayers for a wife. Yeah. Oh, look, they're so pretty. And they're like leather bound, kind of leatherette, right?
Yes. You guys also might see them, anyone listening, they're at like airports and gas stations, but they look different. Mine's like a bright pink. His is we don't have it down here, a bright blue, but they,
that's fun.
You see those little, like the choice books, they pick them up as well. So I think that's pretty cool. But this is like the more giftable version. And it was so fun to write. We're writing 52 prayers for your future husband and future wife right now. So Tyndale asked us if we would write 2 more. So those come out in October next. So we have to wait a little while.
October.
But these are, we've loved seeing people walk out. There's little devotionals that have different stories that we share, and then a prayer they can pray for their spouse, and then a call to action of
a call to action that they can do themselves, like just do by themselves, and there's a call to action they can do with their spouse. And so if you're walking through a season and it's just hard and there's not that connection, you feel like you just need to be the one praying through it, like you're very much able to do it by yourself. And then if you want to do it together and walk through it, there's an action step for both of you together.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make it accessible to anybody who's married, whatever stage they're in, that they can kind of tackle those things. And, the stories are just ways that, we've been a blessing, and then the ways that we've messed up and how God has kind of filled in the gaps.
Oh, give us an example. Grab a page. Tell us something fun from it.
Oh, man.
I like shared kitchen 101 when we were dating, it was newly into marriage. It's like one of my first ones. But he used to put like the big pots, like the handle sticking out. And I said to him, like early on in marriage, because I knocked into it and I got all freaked out, and I was like, kitchen 101, Caleb. And he was just trying to cook for us. And I wish I could have shoved those words back into my mouth. And how I said it's called Unlocking His Heart, and it's a prayer that your husband would feel appreciated and fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, and right, and pure, and lovely, and admirable. Think about such things. And it talked about me as a wife and how I wanted to be able to speak more life than I was speaking criticism, and how easy it can be to speak criticism, but also so that love in action is start a new practice of naming 3 specific things each day that you are grateful for the other person. And that's something we do in our marriage all the time. If we're just feeling like a little contention, or if there's something going on, we say to each other, hey, what's something you're thankful for? Like, and we usually say 3 things each. And it just clicks your brain out of that complaining or those. So, and then one of the, like the little quote. It says, the more I tell my husband how much I appreciate him, the more I see reasons to show him gratitude. And then it's a prayer of just, Lord, give me eyes to see the good things. Let me not just, a lot of times when we can get in that negative mindset, then we're only seeing the negative. It's like what you look
handle sticking out. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, that's an example of how you can put it into practice, how you can be praying, and
so good.
A story that I'm not proud of, but we still laugh at me the way I said that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. One thing each right now that you're thankful for each other.
Oh man, I am so thankful that you do so much to make our house so nice. Like, she's been doing all these little projects to kind of like decorate and make it look just so special. And so I like it. I like that it's just, there's no clutter. It's just a very nice, like clean, nice space to walk around in. So thank you very much.
Oh,
You're so loving.
I'm so grateful. Well, for your smile every morning. That's one of the things, like, he always smiles at me so big when I first, we see each other in the morning, which is, I'm very grateful for, and just how much you do, like, acts of service to bless our family. Like, you aren't looking for praise. You're just like looking for different ways, like in the morning to get stuff for our animals and get like my tea or get little things ready to make things nice for us. I'm very grateful.
Well, that was a lovely example and a lovely conclusion to our time together. Stefanie and Caleb, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks
this has
for
been
having
really
us,
special.
Amy.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're such a blessing to us, and thanks for what you do for couples all over the world.
For all the marriage champions.
Yes, that's big. Yes. It's really a blessing, and thank you to all the marriage champions. That's really cool. Thank you.
It is. Well, it's my privilege and pleasure. So, and as always, marriage champions, if you'd like to know more about the Rouses and their resources, you can find us at marriageresources.org or marriageinitiative.org.